by today. This is the first time that the Japan-US Innovation Awards has given out the Outstanding Innovation Award. But the program itself is now going into its 8th year. So we have been fortunate to have the cooperation of many people. I'd like especially to recognize the Innovation Advisory Council that has discussed the companies that we will give awards to today and gone through some pretty stringent evaluating from quite a few candidate companies. And so we're going to feature 2 companies today. Both of these companies are US companies. In 1 month, we will feature Japanese companies that are going to win the Outstanding Innovation Award. And so for today, our 2 companies are WeWork and FogHorn Systems. And what I will do is first I'd like to give out the award to Mr. Yuta Endo of FogHorn Systems and ask him to give us about a 30-minute presentation, which we are linking live to Japan. And we will maybe have time for 1 or 2 just brief follow-up questions at the end of the 30 minutes. And then I'll give the award out to Mr. Elton Kwok of WeWork. So let's get started. Yuta, would you join me on stage?
Sure.
Can you move the camera? Make sure that the camera can kind of see us. Otherwise, you get to see the ceiling get the award, right? Anyway, Yuta, congratulations. FogHorn is a really exciting company. This award is to recognize an entrepreneurial, dynamically growing company that really may change the world. And we think that with FogHorn's approach to IoT for edge computing, that can really happen. So congratulations.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours. Let's see how we can do this.
Yeah, that's fine. Hi, my name is Yuta Endo. I'm one of the original member bootstrapped this company 3 years ago. But before I get started my presentation today, I'm very humbled and an honor to receive this award today. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And then also, I would like to offer the sincerest gratitude to the Japan Society of the Northern California, as well as Stanford University. Really appreciate it. We didn't come here by ourselves. A lot of numerous people help us to get here. And then it sounds ending, but of course this is not ending, because this is just the beginning for us. Even the past 3 years, we have a lot of things. So I'd like to take this opportunity to look back what we have accomplished in the last 3 years and what we are seeing in the future down the road. But before I get to the point, our presentation, what's the raison d'etre for us? Why we're existing? I'm just talking about the very broader picture, what we are seeing. The world population have tremendously exponentially grow last decades, over many decades. And then some reports said, okay, well, we're going to reach the 10 billion of people, population by 2050. 4 major resources will lack at that point, and then people start fighting and have wars against those resources. And then it happened, actually, it's already happening today in some developing countries. Those 4 resources: clean air, clean water, food, and then energy. People try to save the consumption of those energies today. But who is consuming most of those energies? Industries. For instance, 80% of the water consumed in the United States consumed by the agriculture. 40 to 50% of energy consumed by the manufacturing in Japan. A lot of industries consume a lot of resources. But all those industries already spend tremendous amount of effort to try to save as much as they can. So even the 1% efficiency, improve the 1% efficiency, it's very hard things to do. You need a really breakthrough innovation right there to see, looking at the things a different way to improve their efficiency. That's what we are doing. Our software, so FogHorn is a software company. We've developed software to use the data which generates at the the industrial space, immediately use those data, and then take the feed back to the operations to improve the efficiency, and then improve the quality, and then improve a lot of these different things. So, yes, so the company, just quick background of the company. So as I said, like 3 years ago, almost 3 years plus ago, this company funded. And then since then, we went through the 2 rounds of funding, Series A and B round. And it's very unusual, like our startup is to compare with the other Silicon Valley type of startup. We don't have much financial VC's investment, but instead we accept a lot of corporate VC investment. Our investors, GE, Dell EMC, Bosch, Yokogawa from Japan, Saudi Aramco, Intel, and Honeywell. We got invested total about, like including the seed funding, we got around $47 million at this point. And we started 3 years ago, 5 people. Now we have over 60 plus people now. Now our development office headquartered in Mountain View, and then also we have a development office in Pune in India. But also we have a customer, diverse customer right now, footprint. So we have a team in Japan, Korea, Saudi Arabia, in Europe, and then Florida, and then also the Dallas. So a lot of places that we have coverage. And then those are a lot of partnerships that are involved. And then we work with so many other partners. The industrial partners, definitely that's no-brainer. And then we work with the cloud partners. We work with the gateway partners and semiconductors. And then also we work with a lot of system integrators. Because we don't, in order to scale our business, we cannot only do direct sales. We have to leverage a lot of system integrators' help to scale our business and then provide proper support. So those are the companies really supporting us every day by day. And then the thing is, interesting part is, before I started this company, I was working for Cisco Systems for 13 years, I think. And then last 4 years of my Cisco career, I was bootstrapping IoT business in Cisco as an entrepreneur. So back in 2011, GE, Cisco, Intel, and a few other companies started IIC, Industrial Internet Consortium. At that point, Cisco said, yeah, well, let's start the IoT business unit inside of Cisco. But you know what? IoT is a connectivity. We should do it. Because usually Cisco started acquisition to do some new business. But in this case, organically, they started a business inside of the company. So I was one of the original members to bootstrap that company, business unit. And then that time was like 20, I think total, including engineering, about 40 people. But after 4 years, it became like 500 people team. It's a big team. And then going through that, the team came up with the concept, it's called fog computing. There is a guy, it's called Flavio Bonomi. He's a founder of the Nubiello technology today. So Flavio came up with the fog concept. And that fog concept resonates pretty well. So customer really like, our industrial customer really likes it. But in order to really make it happen, you have to have a lot of certain software to how you collect the data, how you enable those industrial stream data, analyze it in such a small hardware form factors. So that's where I kind of looking around the opportunities. Either I do it in a Cisco or going outside and find companies doing that kind of things, or just do it myself. And then at that point, FogHorn contacted me, and then I joined the team. So that was the kind of quite journey, interesting journey for me. And then, but even 3 years ago, we started a company and said, yeah, this is the vision. Here is edge computing, how we can save the world, because of we can make it more industry more efficient by processing the data real time, giving immediate feedback to the operators on those companies. The concept resonates well, but still market was immature. The notion completely changed since last year. Last year was the people start recognizing, yes, there is the market. Yes, there is opportunity. Yes, this is not a hype. This is a tangible thing as long as you do it right. So last year, we actually got a lot of customers come to us, and then we've done a lot of proof of concept, and then some early customers converted to productions. So it's a lot of dynamics changed last year. And then that momentum still continue, and then even stronger this year. So that's the reason why we got a lot of hours last year, and then also we got this award, amazing award today. So this is a great thing for us. And then we're not the only company, saying fog computing. Hey, the first fog opportunity. No, we're not the only one. the value itself, actually, if I talk to the VC, well, I know many of you guys are working with those VCs, but a lot of companies or people start recognizing, yeah, well, fog is, this one is a little bit exaggerating, that fog computing will blow away the cloud. We're not gonna happen. We're not that extremist. Our vision is the cloud will be there anyway, but how you're gonna enable that fog layer is really critical. So that's how we are looking at it. So, but it's a lot of the momentum is right there. We are barking out to the market. So I don't like the word terminology IoT these days because a lot of people use this everywhere, and then IoT becomes like high, But if you look at IoT, the granularity of the IoT has from wearables all the way to the industrial internet. Our domain focus is industrial internet and commercial industries. We're not looking at the consumer market because that's Google, Facebook, they're playing that in the market. So. And then if I zoom into the industrial and commercial market, and then these are the segments that we actually have a lot of customers, and then we're working on a lot of different use cases. The big use case, we have experience in the manufacturing, from discrete FA, factory automation, all the way to the process automation. And then also that includes the hybrid process. Energy space, oil and gas, mining, power plants, and then also renewable energy source. We're working directly with the transportations. Transportation can be the rail operator or who build the train or fleet. In a commercial area, smart cities, smart buildings. And then just an example of the smart buildings. When the people talk about IoT and a smart building, those two combinations, people always think HVAC or lighting, all those systems. In our case, elevator. Because as you may know, that elevator is management completely separate out from all the rest of the building management system, because elevator managed by the elevator companies. Now, one elevator in let's say 10-story tall buildings, one elevator operates every day, open and close the door in an office building. One elevator generates between 2 gigabytes and 3 gigabytes of data every day. And then, as I said, it's completely separate out from management system, from the building system. You have to carry the mobile gateway router to backhaul the data if you want to do further analytics. Is it worthwhile? The more data you send to the cloud, the more money you have to pay for it. And then on top of it, you have a huge delay in sending all those data to the cloud. So, and then from the building management company point of view, like an elevator company point of view, they want to know when they need to go on site and fix it before things start failing. So natural answer is you want to process the data inside of the elevator, and then just critical things that you want to acknowledge to the cloud or operators. Same notion for the manufacturing, power plants, oil rigs, same. Huge data, but it's hard to move the data. And then, hard to move the data, and then not necessary to move the data to get the juice out of the data. So it's a lot of, the industrial space every day generates a lot of data. Now, these days I get the same common questions from the different people, not only from Japan, but also Germany, US. Same question, one question. You know what? My senior executives say, our company should do big data, IoT. IoT generates the big data. I know you guys have AI, right? So I would like to, deep inside of that data to be more efficient. Oh, by the way, there's a blockchain where all the transactions we can secure. I was like, okay. And then, middle management class, and hear that message. Okay, how am I going to translate this into my everyday work? It's a tough thing, right? And then that phrase itself, nothing wrong with that. That's true. But it's a little bit broader vision, so you need to break down into it, component. But every time before I start breaking down the component, I will always ask, what type of data you are dealing with right now? Because oftentimes people misunderstood that a lot of technologies today based on enterprise IT technology. Data generated by enterprise IT. But in OT space, in the industrial space, the data characteristic is completely different. So let's look at what's the characteristic of those data first before we talk about method. So 90% of those OT data in the factory floor and in power plants, to be honest, is junk. But this is one thing that I would like to mention. This is a prerequisite because what I'm calling junk. The more time that passes to process the data, the less value you get. In other words, if you process those data right away, those 90% of junk data becomes a gold mine. You can use so many different things. But if you wait, push all the data to the cloud and wait to be processed, it's too late. It happened already. And then you have to kind of reactively working on it. So those 90% data is a really, really interesting data. And then coming in stream, 24/7, just like water. If you open up water tap, water comes in all the time. Just like data, just like that. It's 24/7. Sensor spitting out the data every time. How are you going to grab those water and understand the momentum? What exactly going on? You cannot do a batch-based analytics because that's too late. And then data transport, data storage, not free. Even if you have a decent fat fiber connectivity, like 100 gigabyte of fiber, and then even if you could transport all the data to the cloud, storing the data is not free. And then if you have a huge big data lake and moving data to left to right, right to left, cloud vendor will love you, I'm sure. But again, it's 90% of those data is already kind of useless, semi-useless. Why you want to spend the money for that to analyze those data? And then also, as I said, the mobile networks and all the satellite connectivities not free to transport the data. A lot of my customers using still satellite connectivity. So data is not move the data is not free. It's cost a lot. And then also the data governance aspect. There are two meanings in data governance. One is the data security. So the people are afraid that some security like confidential information is stored still once they push the data outside of the facility. That's a very natural thing, natural habitat. The second point is the data source assurance. Is this data really coming from this sensor? But once you put everything in the cloud, the millions of data points, you cannot tell. It's hard to tell. But if you process those data right next to it, like device or sensors, oh yeah, this data coming from this guy. That data security, data assurance is really, really challenging these days. Net summary is that a lot of those industrial challenges, that's the kind of interesting part of the OT data characteristic. So we work on a lot of different use cases. Like, these are the tip of the iceberg that we're working on, and then there are so many other use cases. Besides that, there is a big data, right? And then these industries and these use cases that big data generated. One other common characteristic across all those use cases, which is if you want to deploy a new technology in this area, there are only two ways to do it. One is greenfield deployment, other one is brownfield deployment. Greenfield, it's a pretty simple story. You build a new factories, you put every latest and greatest technologies there. I can guarantee 99% case is the brownfield, especially in the industrial space. Factory up and running almost like a century, half century, I would say. The important point is the retrofit. How are you going to retrofit the new technology like us to improve the operations? And then in conclusion, our software can do 100% retrofit. So the first meeting I have, every time I want to go, I usually have a meeting in an office space, but at the same time, I usually have an office meeting a lot of times at the factory floor. So next week, I'm going to Toronto to meet one of my a potential customer, and then go visit all the manufacturing site and having a lot of dialogues. But first things I'm telling them is, I'm not here today to disrupt your operations. I'm here today to understand what you do, but do not change what you do today. Just keep it running as it is. So how are we going to adapt a new technology like us, and then in our software case? So there is a factories here, like this is coil center. And then this coil center, 30% automated, which is normal things in discrete manufacturing. And then, oftentimes operator knows this automation system is not 100% perfect. But this system is up and running 10 years, 20 years. And things breaks, I have to scramble it, fix it, and I'm working extra hours and move on. Because factory refresh, especially these systems, it's not cheap. It costs a lot. So operator knows if the things breaks, I have to scramble it, working extra hours. But if you utilize those data, if you use data, probably you can predict before things start failing. So that way they can prepare for it. But how are you going to do it? So we ask the customer to stream all those data to our software, and then process in real time in our software and give the feedback to the operator. And an operator can go on site, manually take a look, and manually control. And then with this model, the improving this rules or analytics engines, the iteration is pretty quick because every time when you iterate the model, you don't have to stop the line. The line is keep up and running, producing things. But surrounded, we use those data, process it, analyze it, and then the operator go on site, check it. Okay, well, I need to tweak the threshold maybe up 2%. That tweak happens over there. It doesn't impact to what they do today over here. And then if I propose this solution to one of my customers, and the customer's like, yeah, Yuta, you came from Silicon Valley, right? Yeah. Isn't this solution too mild from guy from Silicon Valley? I was like, why? Because Silicon Valley guy always say, oh, AI can do everything, like from factory data, suck up the data, and then we can give you the 10% improvement right there using AI. That's what I've been hearing in the market. It's like, no. Technically, our software can directly control the PLC to fully close the loop and fully automate it. But I don't recommend that. Deep learning, AI, machine learning, a lot of people talks about it. The one common thing of those technologies, build a model is not the end story. Just like have a baby, deliver the baby one big job, but grow the baby all the way to the adult, that's the cost, time, money, and everything. You have to spend the effort. That's the ML model and AI models. You have to keep improving. You have to iterate to make it really usable. B2C market, yeah, probably you can do it in even half-baked. But this is the industrial space. You don't want to make any mistake. And then you want to acquire a lot of the tribal knowledge of the skilled worker into that logic. How are you going to do that? So we truly digitalize the factory data. Every moment we receive it, we cleanse it, we enrich, we process it. And then we digitalize the data, and then analyze the data. Factory operator comes here and then check it and improve the model. When they improve the model, we naturally acquire the tribal knowledge. Now the model improves better and better. Now, because of human desire, now using all the utilize those data, this part of the data is missing because existing system doesn't spit out those data. Now, because of IoT, you have a sensor, right? And it becomes commodity, so it kind of becomes cheaper. The sensor, how are you going to acquire this sensor? Where are you going to acquire this sensor data? Before us, they try to acquire the sensor data directly into the PLC because that's the only way you can read the sensor from the sensors. But that requires entire PLC logic change, program change, which means you need to run the multiple tests before even upgrade. Well, and then Then operators say pass the approval process. Then of course management said, looking at all the proposal, what's the ROI? I don't know. What's the ROI? Because you never know until you try. But that thing is stopped right there because ROI is hard to tell the ROIs until the problem is so obvious. Instead, we acquire those sensor data directly our software. So our software now have the stream data coming in from the old existing systems and new systems. And we process in the real time, mix it, and then looking at the correlations, all the deep dive into those data, and then give much better insight to the operators and build better models. Now, since we are receiving stream data, for us it's a piece of cake to really show in the dashboard, real-time graphs. And oftentimes, a lot of people say, wow, showing that real-time graphs, because the factory operator on the ground, they are really used to the static informations. Like they're never seen a trend, real-time data trend. So that actually dashboard triggers a lot of inspirations of the operators, like, oh, you know what, I want to do this and that. I want to analyze this data and that data. So, and then after we consume a lot of data, good juice out of the data, it's a tasty part, right? We know 10%, it's really critical. It's a gold, like a rich data. That's where you want to store in a cloud or on-prem on a server for further big data processing. And now you have probably dozens of our software in a factory floor. So you want to have a centralized management tool to manage all those our edges. So we have a FogHorn manager to manage all those edges, including all the building logics, applied machine learning, everything in our FogHorn manager, which is GUI-based, graphical user interface-based. So technically speaking, just doing this, customer doesn't need to develop their own custom applications. We take care of that from data in, data process, and data out. And then this solution is pretty much the same for the other things. Monitoring compressors, turbines, and trains, everything the same. The one common thing is there is a mission critical infrastructure. You don't want to change it. I don't want to touch it. But there is a lot of data. How are you going to process that data? It's the same things. Our software is a horizontal software platform, as you see now. And then we can adapt it. You can apply our software platform for different verticals. If I double-click our software, this is inside of our software. It's a very overview of our diagrams. Edge node can be like small PC, PLCs, but all you need is running our full software stack. All you need is a 2 GB RAM and an x86 or ARM core processor. In other words, you just purchased a PC from Amazon like $1,000 or less. That's more than enough to run our software stack. We do 3 things: data in, process, and out. Data in, because the factory floor, there are a lot of heterogeneity challenges. Different protocols, different file format, different rates of the sensors, spitting out the different, data. We absorb those, heterogeneity challenges, and then we do real-time processing and cleanse and enrich the data. And enrichment means that you add the context to the data. And now we have a CEP and analytics engines. We develop our own DSL, domain-specific language. And I don't want to get too much technical details on that, but we develop our own analytics language on top of the complex event processing software engine, which software engine natively support all those stream data handling. That's one of our core patents is there. And then a lot of industrial companies interested in that technology. Because if you look at a lot of existing technologies today, even the cloud, people talking about the stream data analytics, in reality, most of the time it's a micro batch, looking at a 100 millisecond window and then align all those data and analyze the data. So you kind of slice and dice the data. We can do that too, but the way we are natively handling all those stream data is event. This stream data comes in all the time. How are you going to grasp that, grab the data, and looking at the correlations and consider as one event? Those a lot of the different way to look at the data and handle the data because of the stream, not the batch. So we natively support that and then build including a analytics language from scratch, and then create the compact engines. That's one of the core patents that we actually a lot of those partners are using. And then that's because we're not using this core engines. We're not using any open source. We develop from scratch, so you can fit in a few megabytes of RAM to run our engines. Very efficient. And then you can run the machine learning on top of it. And then we provide SDK so the customer has to build their own custom application if they need to. And then that's the data processing engines. And then the third part is the data transport part. After you utilize those stream data, you want to publish the data, some of the data, to the cloud or on-prem data center. We provide all the data connectors, data publishers. So we natively support Azure. If you want to publish the data to the Azure, we do that. AWS, SAP, or on-prem like Hadoop systems, you don't have to write any code. We provide that connectors, adapters already. So data in, process, and out all the way, end to end, and at the edge, we as a package as a software platform. And then when people talk about the real-time data processing, and then people jump into the conclusion that, okay, well, predictive maintenance and operational efficiency, improved yield. But to me, it's a true, like real-time data processing means I know it's hidden, but it's a factory digitalization. Because of the factory, like the data is really in the factory is so dirty, you have to process at the edge. Just like your summer homework, if you wait too long, you forget the context. But if you process the data, when the data generated, you know the context. When, who, what type of context you can add to the sensor data. Those data is really critical when you process later on. So don't wait, just do it at the edge. So that way you can truly digitalize your factory when you archive those data. So data scientists today, I can guarantee, if you ask your data scientist, how many hours what proportion of your work spending analytics versus data cleansing? 70–80% of their time spending data cleansing. Using our software, you can cut down to the 5% because data is already ready for you to process. So, and then we have a lot of the technology embedded and then functions as a function to do all the right data processing for those stream data when it's generated. And then through going through that, not just digitalize the factories, you start capturing, like a digital tribal knowledge, it's all the other stuff that along the way. And then this is the one of the example of the GE. So in Clearwater in Florida, they running our software, dozens of our software in their factory lines already. I'm not going to go this use case very details, but at the end, what they got out of it, 88% in yield improved after they deploy our software like 6 months or 6 to 8 months. They could cut the data 100% down to the 6%. Which means they didn't need 94% of data, but they just stored just because. But because they run our software in each process and are analyzing in real time, each process improved, quality improved, and then at the end, we store a much cleaner data format and then clean data for the further big data analytics, so now they could improve overall yield. And then at the end, their data quality in the data lake is improved as well because they could remove all those junk. So that's the result of what we got in the GE. But we also have customers in Japan soon. I think I can publicize the one customer reference, one of the customer in Japan, and then also there are a lot of different use cases in Europe and US. So, but to make a long story short, I know this is my end of presentation. To make a long story short, they're coming back to my original point of my presentations. A lot of industries still there is a room to improve, and then. As I said, it's a lot of things missing and going to lack in the future in our planet. Elon Musk is great, colonize the Mars and Moon, which is good. No kidding, it's good, but it takes some time. It becomes commoditized and people still use it. We still have to live in this planet. And then one of the Native Americans said, "This planet we are borrowing from our child, our next generation. So we have to return it because we are borrowing." When we return it, we better return in a good hand, right? So that's the reason why there's a lot of room to improve industries. And then this is just one way to do it. I don't say this is the only way, but one way to do it. So that's the reason why this is our raison d'etre, reason of existence. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So our second award is for WeWork. And WeWork is really changing the way that people use their offices, not only to work to live, but work to have a life, which I think is a wonderful kind of saying. So, Elton, congratulations. This is great. We're happy that you could receive the award.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody.
So,
I'm going to start with the video with what WeWork is about, and then we'll go into the quick presentation about what we do.
I think it's really hard when you're starting out to follow your dreams. I think it's really, really hard. We started in our living room, essentially. And I think what's appealing about WeWork for us as a company is that it makes your life extremely easy.
The first day of building a business is a big day because that's the day when the full dreams come into play. But then the second day, reality kicks in. Where's my office? Who's my internet provider? How am I going to pay for electricity? Where am I going to get sales from? In WeWork, we really strive to help you as much as we can. Focus on doing what you love. Create your life's work and let us take care of the rest.
When we first started out at WeWork, we were 10 people and crammed into a teeny office, and now we're 30 people spread out across 2 beautiful offices. Then on top of that, you have all of the common shared space, right? So you have kitchens and booths and phone booths and conference rooms, and a big part of the team has really taken advantage of the fact that it's such a community. The ecosystem has provided a really great place for our team to grow.
We're a community company. We're a company that is looking to create opportunities for people to connect. That happens in our physical spaces. The vibe that we create, the energy that our members create is something that you feel when you walk in. When we see our members inside of this environment, we're inspired to help them. It's all in service to this bigger picture of how do we make people happy? How do we get people to be engaged with their life?
WeWork is the office space of tomorrow. The future is about light, innovation, creativity. It's going from me to we. We give you space that will inspire you, uplift you, and help you innovate the products of tomorrow.
Cool. So before I begin, just out of a show of hands, how many people have actually been to a WeWork before? Wow. Very decent amount, almost 90% of the room. That's awesome. That's very cool. So WeWork started in 2010 outside of New York City in Soho, and it started with two co-founders. So our CEO and co-founder, Adam Newman, essentially grew up in a kibbutz, and through his entire upbringing, entire life, always wanted to bring people together, and that's the community that he knew. And then our other co-founder, Miguel McKevley, grew up in a commune in Oregon, and through that upbringing and through that story, he was able to understand what communal living was like. And his community around him was all around bringing people together. And Adam and Miguel met each other in New York City when they were about to start a company, and the old company was called Green Desk. And it was the beginnings all started with understanding what empty space looked like and how do we activate that space to bring people together. That company was called Green Desk. And then from Green Desk, we moved on to start WeWork. And WeWork was a name that started essentially in 2010, 8 years ago. And we actually just hit our 8th year birthday last week. And what they realized was people who went to work on a day-to-day basis and people who joined companies weren't necessarily inspired. They weren't necessarily collaborating. They weren't necessarily talking to each other and being surrounded by an energetic environment that brought them life every single day. And what they did was they built a very open space. And through that environment, they started to bring people together through glass offices, glass walls, common amenities such as phone booths and conference rooms and fruit water, beer, kombucha, cold brew, alternative beverages, happy hours, events. And then on top of that, layered on a digital app similar to Facebook meets LinkedIn, but the WeWork network that allows people to connect to each other with similar interests, ideas, and companies. So that's the beginning of what WeWork was. And as we go through, we'll share why WeWork is so important today and how we're shaping the future of work. So what WeWork's mission and model is to create a world where people make a life, not just a living. And through that mission, what we do is we create beautiful spaces. We change around buildings into dynamic workplaces to really bring people together. And when we think about it, we try to activate a space that isn't necessarily activated. So when you think about your traditional office or the office across the street before you go into a WeWork, or my old office when I used to work at Bank of America or Merrill Lynch, it was cubicles and it was locked offices across the perimeter of the floor. So natural sunlight wouldn't necessarily come in and you wouldn't actually get to experience and cherish the views. And what WeWork did is we transformed and opened up an entire floor plate and brought people together. And what that looks like is when you walk into the space, you get a lot of natural sunlight. You get music, essentially, as you enter and be welcomed into the space. You get people in the common spaces, which gives you energy and gives you life. And what we're doing with that is activating to make sure that people are energized and wanting to come to work. I heard a quote from one of our members the other day, actually this morning, from one of our community managers, and what they said is, I only planned to come to work once a week once I joined WeWork. But because the space was so amazing, I actually want to come 4 days a week now. And the employer was so happy because they got more productivity, more efficiency with just changing the work environment that they came in. So that is the mission that we're on. We're trying to change the way people think about work on a daily basis, and hopefully we're able to do so quicker and quicker. So this shares a little bit about how we change workspaces into experiences. So the physical space itself is just only one component. What WeWork provides is space, community, and services. The community aspect is something that I really want to touch upon because I believe that what WeWork does is brings together top-class individuals to join our company and really create and activate the environment that people work in. So we have world-class community managers who manage every single space around the world globally, and their jobs are to make sure you feel like home when you walk into the space. We do things such as TGIM, Thank God It's Monday, and through Thank God It's Monday, we encourage people to come in on Monday mornings versus not want to come in on Monday morning. So when they go to bed on Sunday nights, they look forward to activity. They look forward to going to work. And that sense of joy, although so simple, really pays dividends in terms of workspace productivity and companies' productivity. Through the last couple years, since we started, we're essentially we have over 200,000 members in over 200 locations in over 21 countries. So the global expansion has definitely been pretty rapid through the last 8 years. And in 2016 to 2017, we doubled in size, and we expect to do so again in 2018. So that's the trajectory we're on, and we're trying to share this mission and value to as many people as possible as we continue to grow. So a little bit about how we build our spaces. So our spaces are built through a lot of integration and technology. And what that means is we keep track of everything that we build, and we keep track of all the data that is necessary in order to build our spaces, so we become more efficient, we become smarter as we build our spaces, and then we become more thoughtful and intentional. Everything through the hallways at which you walk into, the number of conference rooms that is present within a space, the number of phone booths. We're able to understand how people book each individual space, how each office is being able to be sold, which offices are more popular versus least popular, conference rooms versus non-conference rooms, types of floors, entry experiences, check-in experiences, et cetera, events, and that actually allows us to give us the incremental knowledge and information to continue to iterate and continue to add on these amenities and add on these features to be better and better. So the future WeWork locations that come online are iterations of WeWork that are based off of the current data that we have. And we use machine learning, we use data analytics, we have a huge business intelligence team to help us understand that. So as we get bigger, we're able to just have more data around what our spaces feel like and what they're utilized for. Another thing that our co-founders and CEO mentions a lot is the human connection. One of our goals and values is to humanize the world and to humanize the human connection. So if you think about it today, a lot of the future generations are constantly on technology and on their phones. And what they're missing actually is the ability to connect with people on a one-on-one basis or in a human element. And what WeWork does is instead of working from home and instead of being on your technology for 24/7, you're encouraged to interact with people. We're encouraged to build events that bring people together. And what that does is even though you might not be part of the same company, you're connecting with people that might have similar interests. You're connecting with people that you might not already know about. And that might give you the thrust or the sense of energy to break outside your normal means to learn something new or to understand something that you haven't understood before. I think what's so fascinating about WeWork is you can walk in and see a lawyer's office. Then you could go next door and it could be a tech startup who's doing maybe food innovation. And then you could walk down and you could see an office full of engineers. And all these three different companies can connect with each other and help each other grow at a faster pace. Whereas before, you would have to go in a phone booth, go on LinkedIn, find that individual to connect. We bring all those resources together into one community, into one neighborhood. And WeWork essentially is that platform to connect people. And we've seen a lot of activity within the walls of WeWork, and it's been tremendous to see the amount of success stories that are coming from WeWork locations on a day-to-day basis. I recently heard an investor in one of our San Jose locations has an office, and he walked down and bumped into a startup company with another office, and they chatted for about 30 seconds. And a month later, the investor actually ended up investing in that company. So these moments of time that generally don't actually happen so often in the past are now happening more and more. Another story I wanted to share is we had two individual founders in one of our locations in San Francisco, and they were building their own companies. And they were grabbing coffee and ended up sitting next to each other. And eventually, they realized that they were doing the same thing. But instead of trying to compete against each other, what they did was they actually combined companies and co-founded another company that was based off the same values and mission. And that company is now grown to a pretty significant size in the US and has expanded into other WeWork locations globally, which is a really cool and fascinating story. So at the end of the day, our human experiences is what activates our community, what activates our companies, and what activates the experiences and collectivity of people's interests to help them grow even faster. So a little bit about how WeWork works. What we do is we're a flexible membership. You could also get a long-term commitment with WeWork if you want. The best thing about WeWork is we're space as a service. So despite the size of your company, we have an option for you. So at most basic level, we have a We membership, which is $45 a month and gives you access to our online digital community with over 200,000 members on it. And you could book access to any of our locations globally around the world with the press of a button. So if you're traveling to Tokyo, if you're going to Shanghai, if you're going to New York, or if you're just coming to San Francisco, you could book a space and go into one of our WeWork locations and access the community and meet with individuals and have a place to work. Secondly, if you want to upgrade and grow into a private office, you can have a private office or a hot desk. A hot desk essentially is an open space where you just want to enjoy the space on a 24/7 basis, and that allows you to essentially utilize all the amenities, meet with the network, and have a space to work. It essentially replaces a coffee shop, for instance. So if you're in a city and no longer want to work in a coffee shop and you're a solo entrepreneur and you're starting off your business and you want to get connected and meet a group of individuals, the hot desk option is best for you. What we do is we encourage our hot desk members to connect with as many people as possible to help them grow their businesses. As they grow their businesses, they'll graduate and grow into a private office. Private offices are anywhere between a one-person office to over thousands of desks and members for a private office. So now we support some of the largest Fortune 500 companies who have entire buildings with us and have entire floors with us. And what that does is we offer space as a service model. So you can either occupy an entire floor, our community managers will operate it, they'll take care of the utilities, we take care of the internet, we take care of the facilities management, we take care of the cleaning services, and we take care of the programming, events, community, networking, et cetera. And all that is given to you with the service of WeWork. In addition, we just announced Powered by We. So Powered by We essentially is the future of what we're doing. If you have a lease and you don't want to design, build, or operate it yourself, what we can do is we can come into your space, design, build, and then operate and bring that community and bring that energy into your spaces. What's most impressive about that is you are a private node within our network of over 200 locations. So your employees can be able to visit any WeWork location around the world globally. So if any of your employees are traveling and need a space to work, need a place to visit, need a place to feel like home, WeWork is that source of comfort and community for you. So that is one of the most popular things that we have and the most powerful resource that I think WeWork provides today. One example is one of our enterprise companies, Microsoft. For over 300 of their salespeople in New York City, the 300 salespeople have access to all the different WeWork locations in New York City and are able to have meetings there, have sales pitches, meet with individuals, stop by to rest and relax. Essentially what happens is New York City becomes Microsoft's campus, and WeWork becomes that campus within a city, which is a very fascinating new thought and idea that many companies in the past might not have thought of. And in the future, what we'll start to see is many more companies utilizing that option. And not only within a city, but the world becomes your campus. And I think that itself is so crucial and so critical to how the world evolves in the future, especially as the world becomes more connected and more global today. So here are a few of our enterprise companies that are using WeWork globally around the world. We have Airbnb, Microsoft, which is an example I just used, Yelp, Lyft, American Express, Spotify, Business Insider, and Red Bull. All of these different companies have different use cases for WeWork, which is really cool. Some of them occupy an entire floor. Some of them have an entire building. Some of them utilize all the campus, all the buildings itself as a campus. And I think what's fascinating about it is all these individuals who've had a certain team utilize WeWork had its other coworkers who aren't using WeWork want to be a part of the WeWork community. So we're getting feedback is how can we get more WeWorks? How can we continue to grow? How can we get more employees in different teams here to utilize the community and energy that you build? It's something special and so impressive that you've built that we want to be a part of it. And employees and other companies are attaching onto it and asking their HR partners, asking their people partners, asking their operations facilities partners and real estate team to get more WeWork locations so they can be part of this experience together. So the feedback has been great, and it encourages us to continue to grow and support the demand that is in the air. So the last few slides are just a couple pictures about what WeWork is. I know some of you guys have visited before. I welcome you to visit some of our San Francisco locations. We have 14 in Northern California, and we're going to grow to many more in the next year. Here are some few pictures of some of our locations globally around the world. So some of our common areas, one of my favorites is Weihai Lu in Shanghai. It's an old opium factory and then got transformed into a beautiful workspace and one of the most popular WeWork locations in Shanghai. Gas Tower in LA is in the core of downtown LA with great views. You can see the sunset every single day, which is awesome and amazing. 85 Broad, FiDi, this actually used to be the old Goldman Sachs headquarters and got transformed into WeWork. I actually, when I first started, worked out of this location, and what was so cool about it is as I got out of the elevator every so often, people always ask, like, what is this place? Like, it feels so fun. I feel energized by just hearing the music right outside of the elevator lobbies. It's just really the simple details in design that really makes a difference. Some people think that creating a workspace is just for kind of the feeling of it, but it actually adds productivity and actually adds to cultural retention from a people and cultural perspective, which is so important as companies continue to grow. That's another one in Amsterdam. Some of our amenities that we provide, conference rooms, phone booths, luxurious restrooms. I think what's even more important is if you need a place to stop by to use the restroom, you can stop by at WeWork, and we have over 200 locations, and you can stop by, and they're awesome, and they're nice, and they're always very clean. So that's something that is a huge benefit as well. And then stock kitchens. And then your office. Your office is a blank slate. We provide all the furniture you need to operate. All you need to do is bring a laptop on day one, but you can also create it and make it your own. We encourage our team members and our employees and our members to essentially be creators of themselves and to connect with other people. And through their creativity, they're able to really make a difference and really share their personality through their office space. And then arts. We have a huge internal arts and graphics team where we internally make our own arts and graphics and paintings and interior design that goes into all of our locations. So each building has a similar theme across the world globally. So if you walk in, you'll always feel like you understand and you know where you're stepping into. But each one also has a unique artistic design from the painting on the wall or a special moment that you see or a graphic or some sort of essentially vinyl sign. So I think that is very, very cool that we have an arts and graphics team called Lunch Money that actually creates all of these beautiful designs. So that's WeWork. We're going to end with one of our global initiatives and a video around that. It's very cool, and I encourage you to share it with all your friends, your family, other investors, other founders, and startup entrepreneurs as well. What we do at WeWork is we started this last year called Creator Awards. The Creator Awards is an opportunity for any creator around the world to essentially submit a 90-second video, and we'll be giving away over $1 million in San Francisco on May 10th. You can apply via a 90-second video by April 10th to qualify. And we're going to bring together over 4,000 people at Pier 48 to celebrate some awesome creators. And I think we have so many creators just in the West, but globally we have over 200,000 creators. And I think it's such a huge opportunity to share that mission and to help others create a life, not just a living. So without further ado, I'm going to show the video.
Doing something that has intention or meaning in it, you can't do that.
Supernatural abilities of spotting really, really truly innovative, creative ideas.
You're a creator, we're all creators. And what does that mean? That means that we're part of something greater than ourselves.
For FogHorn, I think that it was interesting to me that you focus so much on the efficiency of industry in general. And what I'd like to ask is how you see new technologies like self-driving cars, things like that. What kind of challenges, and this is not a technical question, right, but what kind of challenges are there for a company like FogHorn, and what's FogHorn going to do to meet these challenges?
Right. So I think there are the three challenges. The one is definitely the industry is slow. This tendency is slow compared with the IT companies. So adapting a new technology usually takes like 10 years, 20 years. That's their cycle. 5 years, I consider is really fast. So how, like a startup company like us, going right because we're rushing, right? Because we need to move fast. So how are we going to work with those companies together without causing any conflict? That's one. The second point is a lot of the existing players tend to do a closed systems. So that's how we're going to break through that, right? And then third is A lot of actually know-how is in the factory floor, all the operators. How are you going to get access to those operators? A lot of IT companies in Silicon Valley, they only have access to the IT team in the headquarters. But the IT team oftentimes doesn't have the answer. So how are you going to access to those right person in the shop floor? Those are the three areas.
And how are you going to deal with this?
Well, that's a secret recipe. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No, I'm seriously, like a lot of, I really appreciate all my teams and then also my partners and customers who introduce us to the right person and right context and right team. So without having their help, and then also our investors a big help because our investors are industrial companies, so they can introduce the right team. So that's the reason why we're looking at investments, not just only from money, but all those connections as well. So.
Okay, that's great. If you'd pass the mic to Elton. Elton, my question for you is kind of, in a way, almost the opposite.
Sure.
You talked about a really great vision for work and what work should be like. And, WeWork has developed a really distinctive, great product. What's the messy back end? What kind of technologies have to be involved in what you're doing? And maybe you could talk a little bit about the acquisitions that WeWork's been doing lately.
Sure. Happy to explain and share a little bit about the public ones that were recently announced. The technology that comes to play when we look into building WeWork is essentially the baseline and foundation of how we operate on a day-to-day basis and how we continue to build our spaces. So back a couple years ago, we acquired a company called Case, which essentially is a construction and physical product technology that allows us to understand essentially every single build out that we have. And what that does is it combines all the data in terms of every single layout, every conference room, every floor, every office that we have, aggregates it into one and spits out essentially information on how do we better build our spaces in the future. So that's just one. But not only that, every single thing that we do is touched by technology, as simple as how our community managers interact with our members. We have something called member notes. And what that does is it allows our team to have special surprise and delights and hospitality moments with everybody who walks in. So when you walk in and you're visiting from another location, we're able to understand what your favorite chocolate is or what your favorite movie is. And those special intricacies, those details that I talked about, really helps make the space come alive because it's that human element that is so different from everything else. How we track our sales and how we understand which office is available, all that is in-house built technology that allows us to better operate in a more efficient manner. Recently, we acquired a couple companies. Meetup is one of the most notable acquisitions that we had. And I think what's so special about Meetup is what Meetup did at its core product was bring people together. And what better way than to bring people together and bring them into a WeWork space with similar interests, hobbies, and communities. And that in itself is one of our core values as well. And we offer the physical space for meetup organizers and meetup communities to do so. And I think that as an acquisition just makes so much sense. We recently just acquired Flatiron School as well. And Flatiron School offers the opportunity for individuals in our spaces as well as any individual around the world to be able to get additional online education and actually physical in-person education through boot camp classes and coding classes. So that's also a very cool acquisition because it allows people to have an extension of learning and to be a student for life. And I think those combined with our core value and core foundation will allow people to continue to grow.
Okay. Let me ask one more follow-up to you. So in terms of your rate of growth of utilization, is that in the 2 digits or how fast is WeWork growing worldwide?
So we're growing really fast. Like I said, we just hit our 8th birthday last week. And through that, we were able to celebrate a little bit about the tremendous growth that we've had through the last 8 years. I think what's most notable and to highlight is from 2016 to 2017, we've doubled in size in a lot of different metrics. And in 2018, we continue to meet that. And that's our intention for 2018 is to continue to double in size as we continue to grow and expand globally and enter into new markets and new cities that we haven't touched yet.
Okay. And Utah, you had talked a little bit about your growth, but maybe you can say a little bit more about how many companies are starting to use or something about, how we work.
Right. I think we're too early to disclose that, kind of information. But I would say like more than dozens of customers, actually.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Yeah, while we're waiting on that, Alan, why don't you ask a question?
How do you position yourselves in the landscape of many people going after industrial IoT? C3 sounds like a pretty similar value proposition. You have Nebbiolo on the hardware gateway side. You've got a number of startups. So how do you position and differentiate and partner with, how do you use it in the ecosystem of emerging players?
Right. So a lot of companies like C3 IoTs and stuff, they're more cloud focused companies. So if I look at the edge component, I think we're way advanced than anyone else. So actually, all those companies like C3 IoT, Nebbiolo, and then those companies, we're actually talking, and then we can be potential partners. So I don't think that there are any of the companies today in the industrial space that will directly head-to-head compete right now.
Okay. Ken has typed in a question. Let me see if I can read it somehow. I understand you use an SaaS model. So Elton, how do you increase the revenue per user?
Is that where we work?
I tell you what, well, I want both of you to hear that.
Yeah,
to deal with
that's a
that
good question for both of us.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So our business model is a two aspect. One is a subscription model, and then also the OEM model. So it depends. So our subscription pricing is pretty straightforward. One edge per some certain dollars. So and then of course that that's our model. So it's and then on top of it, we provide some professional service and data science service on top of it. So and then depends on the users. If they deploy like millions of edge, then of course that per edge price goes down. But that's okay. That's a natural thing. So for us, I'm not looking at the kind of ARP. I think I'm looking at more overall solution per se.
Okay.
So our model is a membership model. So we get membership fees for every individual or every company that joins the community. And in addition, one of the third things that we offer is services. So through our services store, which is an online store that our members are able to essentially buy and purchase additional services for their companies, they're able to add incremental, essentially, additives that help them expedite that growth of their individual companies. So we get a percentage of revenue from each of the services that we offer, whether it's healthcare or communication services or companies like Salesforce with SaaS platforms, et cetera. So that definitely helps us increase the revenue per member.
I'd like to ask about protecting your business, especially for WeWork. So why couldn't somebody else just recreate what you're doing really easily?
So I think we have some of the best people in the world working for the company, and we've definitely scaled to a certain scale that it's really hard to recreate what we've developed so far. And I think what makes WeWork so unique and so special really is the people. When you walk into a single WeWork location and you walk into another WeWork location in another part of the world, our training, our development, our culture is contagious, and it's something that's so special that's really hard to recreate for other companies. So the space itself is a greatly designed, greatly executed product, but in addition to that, the technology behind it and then the people on top of it is uncomparable to anything else.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great answer. Go ahead. No, really, it is. Because everybody talks about patents, everybody talks about this kind of stuff, but really, great execution is absolutely the best protection anybody can have. Go ahead, David.
I was impressed by that. But my question is how I've been to Plug and Play, and it seems like it's kind of similar, but it's quite different. So can you kind of touch on, what are the major differences? And I'm also curious about your business model. It sounds to me, that kind of investment to buy a building and renovate and then charge $45 per membership doesn't really work out. So how do you make it happen?
So just to clarify, the membership model for $45 is just an online membership, and then they pay per use. So they get a certain number of credits, and when they visit a location, they'll have to use a credit. And each credit that they utilize is on a pay-as-you-go basis. And then after that, there's a certain rate at which you become a 24/7 member with the company or with WeWork. So it starts anywhere between like $350 to San Jose and San Francisco to about $500 per hot desk member, and then increases up to about $1,000 or so per private office, but depending on the city and depending on the location and building you're in, that varies because we have global playbook and local execution in terms of how we do things. So in terms of differentials, I think one of the biggest things to highlight is the global network that you get when you join WeWork. So the ability to not only be part of one location or one community and be part of over 200 plus locations is indescribable in terms of the experience that you can get. I think that within itself is just so special. There's also that layer of the network that you get online. So you get to connect not only in over 200 locations, but also to over 200,000 new members, companies, industries, et cetera, to get advice, to help hire for new employees if you want to hire, to connect with other people, just to share what's going on, to even do personal things. If you're selling furniture or finding an apartment, to get you're new to the city, all those different things are integrated to our platform that really provide a sense of belonging that can't really be created in an environment today, and it really brings people together in a very special way. I mean, personally, I grew up in a huge family. I have 10 aunts and uncles on my mom's side, and then 6 aunts and uncles on my dad's side, and I grew up with a very large base of cousins and family members, et cetera, and we would always be together while I was growing up. And I thought that I'd miss that feeling when I grew up and moved away from home, which was Los Angeles. And WeWork fulfills a lot of that for me personally, and that's just a personal experience. And I think through the members that I talked to and through our team members and employees themselves, like WeWork really is that community outside of just a workplace. And I think that in itself is hard to recreate and hard to compete against.
Great. We have a question from Tokyo for FogHorn. Okay. And this question is kind of the people time that it takes to really deliver customized data analysis and to customers. Right. And so how do you draw the line between machine-provided service versus things that people would do almost like a consultant?
Right. So, of course, the first couple times that we have to do kind of something like consulting work to understand what their problem is and what's the kind of data they have. But usually, when I run the proof of concept, one proof of concept done in 3 months. So how we do it, so we grab the data, we analyze those data, we're looking at the data, but really our software is just imagine like an execution software. So the operation team, oftentimes they have ideas. Oh, you know what, this thing breaks in certain conditions. But I don't know how to execute it, how to implement that in a system to let me know that, before things breaks. So our software brings that travel knowledge into the execution level and then deploy that and apply for those stream data is spitting out from sensors and device every moment. So that part is very rapid. So usually for 3 months, the 1 month, we start grabbing the data from sensors and devices. That part takes a little bit sometimes because, because the other side was sensor configuration and stuff. But as soon as we receive the data, a lot of things happen in a week or two. And then all the way to the visualization is done in the 3 weeks. And then sometimes customers extend the proof of concept another 3 months, but because they want to apply the advanced analytics, like machine learnings, right, AIs, and those stuff, they want to apply on top of our software. And then we also, of course, provide our capabilities, and that takes another 3 months to do more data science work. But that's sort of like how we can quickly, rapidly move the things, move the needles.
Okay, good. Gary.
Do you have to deal with patents from who owns what, when, where, and why?
Right. So you're talking about our technology patent, I believe. Yes, we submitted several patents around our core technologies, yes.
Okay, we have another question from Tokyo.
So the question is...
For WeWork, customizing per different countries.
So the answer is yes, and what we've done so well as a company is have a global playbook, global processes, global policies, global structures. But when we go into each country or each city that we go to, we try to localize as much as possible. Everything from the people that we hired to the general managers that operate locations and manage the business there to the design components that we integrate in and bring into the spaces. So we really bring in local people and local experts that really know that city and country to integrate that into what is already formed as WeWork. So we have a baseline foundation, and then when you visit, you get that element of, wow, this feels like Shanghai. This feels like Tokyo. This feels like Seoul. And that's because of our local execution that we have in each city and the local management that comes from each city that we go into.
I did want to ask both of you a little bit about what's the status of your operations in Japan right now? I know there are WeWork sites in Japan, but offhand, do you happen to know how many or?
Yeah, so we just launched our first location in Tokyo last month, February 1st, and we launched our second location March 1st, and we have plans to open up to 5 for this year so far, and that's all that has been announced.
Okay, Utah?
So mainly my engineering team in Japan, in Tokyo, and then that's the business development functions. I'm pretty much on it right now, so I'm keep traveling back and forth. But yeah, because our customer needs the engineers, rather like sales guy or business development guy. So we have the sales engineering representation there.
Other questions?
Once you did the stream-based analytics, you probably successfully down dimensioning and make say 1-digit percentage of the data relevant to the analytics. That insight, who owned that insight?
Great question.
So I think it depends on who paid what type of things. So if the customer paid us to build the logic, then that IP owned by customers. But if the customer asks us to do it kind of free work, and then that negotiation and all the discussion needs to happen. Yes.
Okay, so it is possible that the customers own the full insight, and they later stage they build their own system.
Exactly. So technically speaking, a lot of know-how and knowledge coming from the customers, right? And then that know-how, they already have it. They implement it in our software, and using our software to implement it. Of course, everything is their own, right? And then they ask us to pay to develop the those logics. Yeah, then they own it. Yes.
Okay. So the other side of the coins, once you do the free work for identifying the core data, which dimension is most relevant, then in later stage that it could be purchased by the clients so that you can transferring it to the other.
Right. So I think all the of course customer specific things we never ever sell or shared at all. But how to look at for instance vibration sensors, and then how you are looking at the vibration sensor and analyze those sensors is very common, right? So that part is very shareable. But all the very customer specific things we're not going to share at all, of course. Yeah, because a lot of customer specific know-how is involved, and we are very sensitive about those know-how stuff. So.
Okay, Alan, I saw your hand.
The world is full of incubators and co-working spaces, and there are lots of them that have glass floor plans and community events as a core part of their value proposition, locally operated funds, entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of small incubators and co-working spaces. My sense as to why WeWork has become as big as it has, as fast as it has, it boils down to Adam's personality. And the dynamic that you have in New York spaces is very closely tied to him as the central figure. So my question is, as you've now grown to over 200 spaces, you've talked a lot about analysis of floor layouts and the hardware of the space that is relatively easy to reproduce and not that important to optimize. My question is, what have you observed in locations that fail to get the dynamic? And what are the attributes that you need in a local, if you got an average of 20 people per location in terms of employee size across number of locations, what is the key thing you found about local leaders that are able to recreate, to channel Adam's personality into the local location, and those that aren't? And how quickly are you able to identify what's the human leadership dynamic in a location to make it successful? What are the key elements that you've discovered about leaders that work and don't work to recreate that dynamic in a location?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what's so fortunate about our leadership team at WeWork and how it extends out to the broader regions and broader territories and broader markets that we have is we're very connected as a global company. And what Adam has created is these core events that allow us to connect as people and as employees that I haven't heard of in any other company around the world. So 2 examples are summer camp all of our employees globally around the world go to a summer camp every August, and it's been present since the history of WeWork. And the first 2 years, when I joined the company, it was in New York, and then last year it was in London, and this year it's in London again. And what we do is we bring people together through a shared experience. So what Adam mentions as humanizing the way we operate, the way we work, the way we connect, and feeling a sense of energy across each individual, that is played true internally within our company as well. And I think that energy extends outwards into the local communities and outwards into the local buildings, because that is dynamic, and that can't be changed without a cultural experience such as that. Secondly, we're able to learn and educate ourselves and go through different seminars and summits, et cetera, through a second event called the Global Summit. And through the Global Summit, what we do is we connect as a global team again, this time in January versus August. And it is fully content-based and fully development and leadership-based. And we get presented from all of our executive leaders on the plan of the entirety of the company, from every function to every region. And what that does is allows us to get alignment and understanding of how we operate globally. And then through these activities and through these events and through these seminars, we're able to actually share ideas and continue to learn and educate ourselves on what's happening and understand how we can do things better. And if there are challenges in one area and an opportunity and a win in another area, they can learn from each other and actually execute even better. So I think the company has done a phenomenal job in doing so, and I'd ask any employee about that, and it's been great to experience personally myself. That itself is a really great experience that we were able to go through twice a year.
Good, thank you. Other questions? Phil.
Hi, this is a question for WeWork. I'm wondering if you ever run into any sort of regulatory issues. I mean, you're a real estate developer, but you provide a lot of other services, so I think in some locations they must kind of go in fits when they're trying to come up with how to regulate you.
So not so much yet that I could speak of. So I'd direct that question towards our public affairs team to be able to answer that a little bit further. Okay.
We have another question from Tokyo, and I think this is really for both companies, even though it's specifically to WeWork. There's going to be a lot of Me Too competitors. How do you make your advantage sustainable? You first, and then I'll ask Utah.
So I'd say at the pace and the current state that WeWork is in already, gives us a little bit of a competitive advantage because we're so global and our teams are so built out. Our training and development is built out for every single person that comes into the company. Our membership is huge and large. We have over 200,000 members globally around the world. We have over 200 locations already pre-built. We already have real estate deals signed in new markets that we haven't entered in. So we definitely have a step forward in that aspect. And we're just beginning in terms of everything that we're going to be doing. And I think what's so important is we've really built a foundation, a platform, not just a workspace. And the workspace is the foundation at which we can continue to build things on. So when you think about Meetup and you think about Flatiron and you think about all these other services that we're going to get into in the future, the opportunities are limitless. And when you think about the core mission of building communities, I think we have the perfect opportunity to do so.
Okay, before I give the microphone to Utah, though, you mentioned, again, the kind of people side and vision side, but WeWork also has a very large war chest of money, including a rather large investment from SoftBank in the past year, right?
Yes, we have a joint venture with SoftBank in Japan, actually.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So do you think that you'll be able to maintain what you have in the context of working in a joint venture with a very large and rich company?
So I also can't answer that fully.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll direct that question, put it on hold, and stack it till next time.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. Utah, what about sustainable advantage for FogHorn?
Right. I think if I can summarize in the 3 bullet points, is the one is vision, team, and execution. So the vision is like how you see the future, and then why you're doing this. That raison d'etre I mentioned, keep saying this. That vision is really, really important. And then secondly, that team. And team means like our internal team, as well as I'm including partners, our investors and partners. The team make that happen. And that's exactly what I would like to echo what, like the WeWork, the WeWork vision is a team. And then third, rapid execution, execute, move. And then that 3 bullet point, it definitely makes us difference.
Okay, that's fabulous. Other questions from the Stanford side? Go ahead, Phil.
This is for FogHorn. How do you validate your results with your customers?
Yes. So every time when we do a proof of concept or the customer and production deployment, we set a very specific goal. Like either are we going to digitalize? How far do you want to digitalize the factories? And we try to make it more like metricable, like measurable, kind of set the goal. So like we never start the project with the fuzzy goals. So in some customer case, like okay, well I'm involving hundreds of checkpoints or hundreds of manual process. I would like to convert that 100% digitalized so that people doesn't have to do any manual process. We did it. That's a very obvious result. And then yield optimization takes some time to get the result, but if that is the case, then we will definitely monitor that, that percentage. And all those stuff, we try to make it as clear as possible before get started project.
Okay, good, thank you. Other questions? Back in the very back.
It's more an extension of the previous question. Can you elaborate on data cleansing? You said your technology is able to reduce from 70% to 5%. Personally, I work for 4,500, and I can tell you every company, they have like 1,000 of silos. Among that, structured versus unstructured versus 1,000 reference point. Can you elaborate further, please?
Absolutely, that's a great question too. So the data cleansing has a lot of different meanings, but in my opinion, like there are a couple of things that in a special OT space. The one is a lot of heterogeneity data format and protocols. That's a lot of cleansing it requires. Even the same vendors coming, sending the different type of file format. How are you going to convert that into unique format? That's one. Secondly, that the factory data is oftentimes missed or out of the band. You see a lot of the dirty data. And then you realize that once you start receiving data, the data is missing. And then especially if the customer using wireless technology in a factory shop, there's a lot of data is missing. How are you going to supplement those lacking those data? And then third is really that offset. The time is not synchronized in a factory. The PLC, and then under the PLC, things are connected, perfectly synchronized because it's basically it's a time domain-based data processing. But as soon as you go outside of the PLC, connecting different machines or different device or coming from the different PLCs, time is not synchronized. How are you going to correct those offset to process those data? Those are already one of the top 3 common problems of how to cleanse before cleansing the data. Now our software will cleanse those data and make it much cleaner. And then at top of it, we add the enrichment layers, which is to add more context or metadata to those raw data.
I know we're a lot ahead of time, but I think that if there are no questions, the best thing to do is to use this for an opportunity for networking here. For the people who are here, especially members of our Innovation Advisory Council, to meet Utah, to meet with Elton, and to talk more with them informally. Ken, I want to thank you for setting up the video conference in Tokyo again, and thank everybody for participating from Tokyo. We'll call an early end to the meeting today. This feels about right. Thanks, everybody, and congratulations.